Hello, Patriots. I'm Lee Watts, and this is Patriot Point, your source for Kentucky news and analysis from a conservative, Christian, and common sense point of view. Well, this week we're going to be looking at how Andy Beshear just might become the Vice President of the United States.
Inconceivable!
I wish it was inconceivable. However, it is quite conceivable. Kamala Harris is the presumptive candidate by the Democrats for the office of president. She has asked 4 people to send her their paperwork to consider to be her running mate. So there's already 4 finalists for vice president. And those people are one of the senators from Arizona and the governors of North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and you guessed it, Kentucky. That's right. Andy Beshear is one of the 4 finalists that Kamala Harris is looking at right now. Now, there is a lot to cover with this.
Let me explain. No, there is too much. Let me sum up.
Yes, let me explain. First of all, Andy Beshear is term limited. He can't run for governor again. He's already been attorney general, and there is no way in the world that he would ever accept a lower office. Therefore, the only thing this career politician can do is go to a higher office up in Washington, D.C. He has been raising a tremendous amount of money, but he has not sent that money to the Kentucky Democratic Party. No, and that's why one of the reasons why Kentucky Democrats have been taking a pounding against Republicans the last few years, because Andy has not been looking out for them. He's been looking out for himself, and he sent this money up to Washington, D.C. Why? So he can specifically curry favor with those in power in D.C., and he's really been applying for this job all along. And now there is an opportunity for him to actually get it. So some people say, well, Andy wouldn't be chosen because Kentucky is a red state and it voted for Trump last time. It'll vote for Trump this time. If you look historically, though, vice presidents aren't chosen as a running mate because they're going to carry one state. So that's probably not a reason to discount him as being the person who is going to be selected. Now, he comes off as a nice guy. He says he's a nice guy. The media tells you he's a nice guy.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
No, he is not a nice guy at all. He is an incredibly mean and vindictive guy. I remember during the lockdowns, he was one of the most restrictive governors in the country in cutting off people's businesses and their rights during all of the lockdowns. Remember, he told the state troopers to put notices on Christians' cars saying, I'm going to throw you in jail for a year for defying my commands. And we had to get the federal courts to step in to stop him from doing that. During the lockdowns, he was ruling everything by decree. The state legislature kept asking, saying, let us come into session so that we, as the people's voice in the government, can have a say. He called in the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate to his office, yelled at them like children for 30 or 45 minutes, and then sent them out and never did call the legislature in. No, he's an incredibly mean guy and a radical leftist. But he comes across as a nice guy who's a moderate, and that's why they want him. Why else would he be picked? Tell me exactly why he's being picked. It's the same reason why all 4 of these people have been picked. Is why? Because they're all white males. And see, Democrats vote because of race and gender. Republicans don't vote because of that. Republicans vote for someone based on merit. But the Democrats are a bunch of racists who are like, hey, we'll pick this person because they're the opposite race and gender of our other candidate. And they think that'll make people vote because they think the rest of us are racist too. It's simply this DEI garbage, not choosing someone based on their merit, but based on this diversity and really a racist, leftist, socialist agenda. That's why you got all 4 of those guys match that same criteria. Now, this leads us to a very important question. If Andy Beshear becomes the vice president then and resigns, who's going to become the governor of Kentucky? Well, it's not who you think. Most people would think, well, the lieutenant governor would become governor. No, that's not the way it is. And we're going to look into that right now. Now, if you ask most Kentuckians, who's the lieutenant governor of Kentucky today? I would wager that 90% of Kentuckians have no clue who the lieutenant governor is right now. And here's the reason why. Because the lieutenant governor, lady by the name of Jacqueline Coleman, she has been hidden away on purpose by the Beshear administration. Here's the reason why is during the lockdowns when everybody else had their businesses closed, Jacqueline Coleman made sure that her hairdresser's business, they got special privileges. And so there was a big scandal with that when that happened. She was supposed to be in charge of making sure all the unemployment insurance checks went out. And of course, that was a great debacle, and there was a big scandal with that as well. In fact, the state auditor had to get involved because she was breaking the law so much. So how did she get this job if she keeps bungling everything? Did she get this job because she was politically active before? No one politically active before. Did she get this job because maybe she was a city councilwoman or she was a mayor or she had held some position in some prior office? Nope, never held political office before in her life. Did she get this because of some accomplishments that she's done for Kentucky or in politics at all? No, she got this job simply because she is a woman and she is a teacher. I have no problem with a woman or a teacher running for office, but I have a problem if that's the only reason people vote for you instead of your merits. People should be elected because of their merit, not because of their race or gender. So she was put in as a token, has been a big embarrassment into the administration, and that's the whole reason there's going to be a problem. If Andy Beshear resigns, she gets the power of being the lieutenant, of being governor, but she doesn't become governor. And that all has to do with the Kentucky Constitution. Notice what Section 84 of the Kentucky Constitution says. The lieutenant governor shall exercise all the power and authority appertaining to the office of governor until another be duly elected and qualified, or the governor shall be able to discharge the duties of his office. Notice nowhere in there does it say the lieutenant governor becomes the governor. It simply says the lieutenant governor has all the power and authority of the governor. So Jacqueline Coleman would not become the governor. She would stay lieutenant governor, only having the governor's powers. Now, the Democratic Party, first of all, they don't want her as governor because she's not qualified for the position. So the Democrats are going to want to say, well, how about we have her be able to appoint somebody else, and that somebody else would really be doing all the things that a governor would. And that would be the person they would want to become the next governor. However, the Republicans will probably be saying, no, that's not what the Constitution says. And it says until there's a new election. And they might be pushing for a special election to be held next year in the governor's race. So there's going to be a big legal battle about all of this if Andy Beshear resigns to run for vice president. However, how are we going to know if he gets this job? Well, we in Kentucky will know ahead of time because all we have to do is see if the lieutenant governor suddenly resigns to take care of her family because she has a young family. If she resigns, then Andy Beshear will get to appoint whoever he wants as lieutenant governor without anybody voting on it. The legislature doesn't have to approve it. The people don't get a vote. Nobody nowhere. He can appoint whoever he wants. He will appoint his chief advisor for the past 5 years, a guy by the name of Rocky Atkins, as lieutenant governor. Then, if Andy Beshear were to resign because, Lord forbid, he wins, or even just to campaign, then Rocky Atkins would stay lieutenant governor, but have all the powers of the governor for 3 years. And here's the kicker. He would then be allowed to run for governor 2 additional times after being governor for the last 3 years of what was Beshear's term. Why? Because he never was technically governor. He was lieutenant governor. So this guy could be act as a governor for 3 years and then serve as governor for 8 more years if he were to win all of that. So this is just the Democrats, again, just bypassing the election process, which don't be surprised. That's what they're doing nationally. I mean, think about it. During the primaries, the Democrats' National Committee changed the rules for running for president 60 times, a literal 60 times. All that was to make sure that nobody who was a viable candidate would be able to run against Joe Biden during the primaries. And then they canceled the primaries in like 3 or 4 states so that Joe Biden alone would get in there. They knew Kamala couldn't win the primary. Well, that's who they want. So they find a way to get Biden in there. And then we get rid of Biden and she becomes the candidate without the Democrats of America actually getting a choice to choose between her or one of their other candidates. So don't be surprised if they try to do the exact same thing in the governor's race here in Kentucky.
It's inconceivable.
Now, you would think that Kentucky Republicans wouldn't want Andy Beshear to be one step away from being the president of the United States. Well, that's what you would think, but that's not the case. You have the Secretary of State, Michael Adams, saying that he wishes the governor well and good luck to him. He said this just this week on an interview on WHAS TV out of Louisville. And of course, he wants Andy to have good luck because he and Andy Beshear are big buddies. Remember, Michael Adams and Andy Beshear worked together to install drop boxes and mail-in voting for the 2020 election. And by the way, Michael Adams has been the one fighting against every single effort to get these ballot drop boxes illegal in Kentucky. And he has stopped all of those efforts, and we still have ballot drop boxes that are in every single county in Kentucky. I'm greatly concerned about the next election because we have not secured our elections any more than they were 4 years ago. Michael Adams, one of the reasons for that. So we still have these drop boxes, and really, in my opinion, that's totally inconceivable. Inconceivable indeed, but that is the way things are. You'll notice this week I'm using clips from one of my favorite movies, The Princess Bride. If you've not seen this before, as soon as Patriot Point's over, stop what you're doing, go watch this movie, and you will thank me for telling you to watch this. It's a great little story, which ties in to the latest book that I've written. I've written several books. This latest one is called The Quest of the Dragon's Princess. And if you like The Princess Bride or Ella Enchanted, then you will love this story. And if you're not careful, you just might learn something along the way. Everything has a purpose and a lesson to it. This is available in paperback, hardback, and as an ebook. You can get it right now on Amazon.com, and I have a link in the description of this video. So this is how we're looking at who might become the next vice president of the United States and who might become the new lieutenant governor and acting governor of Kentucky. So until next week, I'm Lee Watts for Patriot Point, reminding you that liberty is not a spectator sport.
That would be inconceivable.